This will be just about one of the best pieces for stew that we are doing tonight, the shoulder. But if you take the large muscle of the leg, the top round and bottom round, where you do scallopini, it's going to be tough. It's too dry. So this is what you want to have. So I'm going to start cutting into this.
I'm Jacques Pépin. I am a cook by profession. I have been teaching at BU here in the culinary program for over 35 years. I'm still here drinking wine.
Good.
I have been cooking for 70 years now, since I left home in 1949 to go into apprenticeship. I was 17 years old at that time. I lived in Paris almost 8 years in the 50s, from beginning to the end. It was another world, of course. I worked at the Plaza Athénée in Paris, Maxime, some of the great restaurants. The existentialists at the time, I used to see Jean-Paul Sartre sitting down at the place where I was cooking with his big glasses reading too, as well as Camus and others. So at that time I got interested, yes, in poetry, in different type of things. At the Plaza Athénée in Paris, we have a library for the employee, and that's where I started borrowing books. I never went to school, after primary school. So that's where I started furthering a little bit my education, which was quite minimal. This is one of my favorite poems, a sonnet by Arthur Rimbaud, called Le Dormeur du Val. C'est un trou de verdure où chante une rivière, accrochant follement aux herbes des haillons d'argent, où le soleil de la montagne fière, lui, c'est un petit val qui mousse de rayons. Un soldat jeune, bouche ouverte, tête nue, et la nuque baignant dans le frais cresson bleu d'or. Il est étendu dans l'herbe, sous la nue, pâle, dans son l'hiver où la lumière pleut. Les pieds dans les glaïeuls, il dort, souriant comme sourirait un enfant malade. Il fait un somme. Nature, berce-le chaudement, il a froid. Les parfums ne font pas frissonner sa narine. Il dort dans le soleil, la main sur sa poitrine, tranquille. Il a 2 trous rouges au côté droit. I always have a little special affection for Le Dormeur du Val, the sleeper in the valley, because when I was a child, it was during the Second World War, and I still remember that. My father was in the resistance. I remember the German walking in the streets, the town where I come, and I remember the American who came and gave me chewing gum and chocolate the first time. In that particular poem, there is that setting up of someone who was about the same age than I was when I learned about that poem. So it resonated very profoundly in me, remembering the war too, and all of those young men who were sacrificed to the mighty god of war. This is the translation of it. It is a green hollow where a river sings, madly catching on the grasses, silver rags, where the sun shines from the proud mountain. It is a small valley which bubbles over with rays. A young soldier, his mouth open, his head bare, and the nape of his neck bathing in the cold blue watercress, sleeps. He stretched out on the grass under clouds, pale on his green bed where the light rains down. His feet in the gladiola, he sleeps, smiling as a sick child would smile. He's taking a nap. Nature cradled him warmly. He is cold. Odors do not make his nostrils quiver. He sleeps in the sun, his hand on his breast, quieted. There are 2 red holes on his right side. Yeah, it's an extraordinary poem for different reasons. The first quatrain really set up the whole poem, that is explaining in that little valley the beauty of the ground, the flowers, the sun, and of course the little river and all of that. And so it's surprising. Then it goes into a young person sleeping, a young soldier sleeping into that beautiful, luxuriant valley by the river. So it takes us on something very symbolic, very beautiful, very bucolic. You're there, and of course the line at the end is a killer because it just tells you that that young man is dead.
So the rice is cooking, the crème anglaise is cooking, the veal is cooking, peas are cooking. Well, we are way ahead. Okay, well, then I'll have a little more white wine.
If I could pair the Dormeur du Val with a good dish, in some way it would be a simple roast chicken, which can be done in different ways. The idea is to have the proper chicken, to roast it the right way, and it can be very simple home cooking. However, if you start adding mushroom and other things, it would be brought to another level. And finally, if you deglaze it with cognac, put some cream, put a Thai flowers on the table, open a good bottle of wine, then you are in the area of haute cuisine. It's interesting, there is certain type of cooking, certain type of painting, certain type of poetry who doesn't really age. That could be now the story of a young man either coming back from Vietnam or in Afghanistan or any of those places now. So for a young person to read that and understand the context and all that, I think it stays just as current today as it was 100 years ago. Yeah.